welcome to the regular board meeting of the Southwestern Brunswick Service Commission. It's our first in-person one in 14 months. Yeehaw! It's good to see you all. Just something about seeing all your faces actually in person and hearing voices around. It's wonderful. So thank you all to those who could join here in person, to those who are joining via technology. It's just really great to have you all here. We have several guests here tonight because our board meeting is being followed immediately by our AGM. So at this point in time, we're ready to call the meeting to order. We are running a bit late due to some technical difficulties and some other delays that were unforeseeable. But we're going to call to order. We definitely have quorums. Good to see you all. And we'll proceed. At this point in time, we do want to acknowledge all of our visitors. We have Minister Danielle Arlette. We have Darren McCabe, our local services manager. We have Ryan Donaghy, who's come with Minister Arlette, I believe, and we have our MLAs, Kathy Baucus and Andrea Anderson Mason. So just good to see all of our guests here tonight. At this point in time, I do need to ask any board members if they have any conflicts of interest to declare. You are required to self-declare. Is there any to note? Any on the cameras? No. And for those, okay, we'll proceed then. And for those who can't see, we do have 4 people on camera. Kathy, Heather, Wayne Surgeon, and I believe Faith was going to join as well. So let's proceed. At this point in time, we'd be looking to adopt the agenda, but I need to ask for a friendly amendment to have Minister Alain present to the regular board meeting rather than at the AGM. So we'll ask a motion to adopt with the friendly amendments, if that's okay. And the agenda was circulated via the board package that you would have received. So looking for a motion to adopt with friendly amendments. Okay. I saw Terry's hand before I heard voice, so sorry about that. Do we have a seconder? Okay, thanks. We have our motion to adopt the agenda. Any questions about that? And so all in favor of adopting with the friendly amendment, and so declare, raise your hand if you're in the room or on the screens. Raise your hand so Claudette can count you, please. Okay, got everybody? All right, and on the screens, we got 3 hands up, a thumbs up and 2 hands up. Perfect, thank you all. Agenda has been adopted. With that, we'll move on to our next presenter for the friendly amendment, and to introduce him, our MLA for the lower part of the region, Kathy Baucus is going to do the introduction. So Kathy, there's a mic right there. Yeah, sure, right up there.
Or just yell. Mic works, okay. Well, thank you and good evening, everyone. Nice to see you all. A lot of familiar faces here tonight. It's my pleasure to attend another meeting of the Southwestern Brunswick Service Commission. This is my first as an MLA. I was at many meetings as a journalist, as I'm sure a lot of you will remember. It's my privilege this evening to introduce to you our Minister of Local Government and Local Governance Reform, Daniel Alain. Daniel grew up in the Moncton area, Louisville to be precise, and he attended the University of Moncton and holds degrees in social science and business administration. He has a long record of service to his community. He's past president of the Southeast Ringette Association and a volunteer with the Mark Alain Foundation. He sat on the Kodiak Regional Policing Authority, and in 2016 was elected as a councillor in Dieppe. And I have to tell you, he much admires our arena. He's a gentleman hockey player, so you know, we had a chat earlier. In 2020, Minister Alain was elected as an MLA for Moncton East, and I've only known Daniel for a short time, but I already admire his dedication and his determination to bring local governance reform after meaningful conversations around our problems with residents out here. I truly believe we have the best person to join me in welcoming the Honorable Daniel Alain.
That's so nice. Wow. Can't believe that I'm that person. So thank you to my 2 colleagues, Madam Mason, Anderson Mason, Madam Baucus. It's great to see you guys here. I can tell you that we have definitely fun in Fredericton, and we have you have 2 individuals that represents Charlotte County to no end. They fight for your interest, and you're fighting for projects, and you're fighting for infrastructure. So thank you for having them and voting them to be on my team. So that's good. And on our team. So thank you. So yeah, first meeting in 14 months is great. It feels good to be. It's my first meeting with people. So I'm in the people business. So it's awesome to have people around. So thank you. Mayor McEachern, we had a great discussion on the town of St. Stephen. And I hope all along the summer that we can have more discussions with more towns, villages, and LSDs for sure. I want to say a special hi to Wayne Sturgeon. So hi Wayne, definitely known Wayne for the last 25 years. So great to see you definitely here today. Want to talk about the green paper, probably take 10 minutes, 15 minutes to talk about the green paper. I have Ryan that's here to answer the questions, so that's good. But again, it should be I'd like to take 10, 20 minutes if you have any questions, comments, that we have a conversation. If you don't feel comfortable asking it tonight, you have my card, call me, email me. We have dedicated staff since being elected on September 29th, on September 14th, but on 29th, giving the challenge of being responsible for local governance reform. We took the best and the brightest from the public service, and we created the reform team. So we have 20 individuals that are working full-time basis for a temporary basis, let's hope for 2 years, 3 years, on reform issues. So it's really important for us that we have a conversation with New Brunswickers. You are the leaders that have been elected, to represent New Brunswickers. So please, we want to hear from you. Because as I indicated to lots of people of late, I'm not a mind reader, and we want to have a conversations with New Brunswickers. We want to have a frank discussion on local governance reform. As you know, we've talked about local governance reform for the past 20 years. We started in 2001. Minister Kim Jardine started a process. She had her paper came out. In 2006, 2008, Jean-Guy Finn came out with a paper of a big brick of 300 pages on local governance reform. I think Ryan started a local governance department. So I think everybody knows Ryan, my deputy minister. We make a good team. So thank you, Ryan, for being here tonight. Then we move forward to Bruce Fitch, 2012, 2013. Did 42 consultations across New Brunswick. Talked to 6,000 people. I think Ryan did 41 of those 42 meetings. The previous minister, Serge Roussel, from the Gallant government, overhauled the Municipalities Act, the Local Governments Act. And my predecessor, Minister Card, also started to work on reform and how to move forward this file. So again, there's been probably 20, 25 studies that have come out in the last years. I have a great thank you to Alex Scholten, Wayne Sturgeon, leading the unions of municipalities, working with Marco Craig also, have been very instrumental to make sure that we move this file forward. So thank you for that. Again, we know the history of local governance reform. We are working with a structure which has been there for 60 years. It's tough. It's not easy. It's like COVID. You know, it's like Washington. You know, in Washington, democracy is not tough. We saw that in January of this year. COVID is definitely tough also. There's always tough decisions with the premier. Dr. Russell have to do on a daily basis. Today was a tough day. There's tough decisions being done. And it's people have an opinion on definitely COVID. It's not easy. There's no silver bullet. The last pandemic was 100 years ago. So just bear with us. Make sure we clean our hands, wear our masks, and let's hope that most of us get vaccinated as soon as possible, that we can work with these variants also. So we're still not out of the woods yet. We've seen in Ontario this week over 5,000 cases in a day. So it's going to be, as I indicated in our earlier meeting today, it's still going to be a good 6 months to a year of COVID. So on the economic development front, Opportunities New Brunswick, Minister Dunn is working on a recovery plan to making sure we have an economy in transition. So we want to hear from businesses. That's really important. I think each department is definitely working on some type of plan moving forward. Local governance reform is part of the Premier's mandate that we want to move forward. We want to modernize. We want to transform the structure. As indicated in our green paper, which was launched 2 weeks now, 3 weeks now. So let's talk about the process. So early on, as I just indicated, we have the local governance team, which started in October. We sat down and we just wanted to make sure that if we're moving forward with reforms, and we are, that we have that frank conversation, but people also, New Brunswickers, have the possibility to have their say. Because I think if there's one thing that we learned from the previous mandate, let's talk health reforms for a minute, people don't like surprises. Politicians don't like surprises. People don't like surprises. So we've heard what New Brunswickers have to say. So that's why if we move forward with changes, we want to make sure that New Brunswickers are heard and consulted. I think one of my previous boss was Premier David Allward, and he was deemed the consultor. Well, guess what? I like that adjective. And people talk to me that if I can be known as the consultor, I would have done my job. So our process that we elaborated, it's pretty easy. We want to make sure that New Brunswickers have the most information that they can get. So if there's one thing from tonight, please visit www.gnb.ca/vibrantnb, and all the information on the previous studies are there. Our LSDs, for the first time, your budgets are there. You can actually compare Charlotte County, Peninsula, to Skiduk, to Ludlow on the Rimouski. It's the first time. So we can compare ourselves on what's happening in this LSD or that LSD. The reform team even moved forward with a postcard a couple of weeks ago to each resident in LSD to indicate what services they're providing, what's the cost, and how does it relate to their budget. So this is the first time, because municipalities' budgets is public. So Town of St. Stephen budget, we pass it, as a former councillor of the city of Dieppe, staff start in July, August. So we'll probably be starting on next budgetary process, July, August. We vote our budgets in October, November, December sometimes, and the budget starts in January. So that's the launch of our website was the 19th of January. So our objective is to make sure that if you want information, it's there. That's number one. Ryan and I did probably over 95 meetings in the last 3 months with LSDs, cities, all the associations. I think we met the associations already 3 times each. So we are consulting with our elected officials, with our representatives. We are also consulting with subject matter experts. Herb Henry, a professor at the UNB, he went through reform in the Western Canada, is giving us great data. It's helping us on this. We have probably, I would say, 20 to 25 subject matter experts. Former deputy ministers, Mike McKenna, for example, Pat Stapleton, Pat Woods, former city managers. So individuals who have that consultation, subject matter experts. And we're talking to people. And I think that's our objective. And we're going to be continuing that. So once we launch the green paper on the 6th of April, our objective from launching this green paper is to start a conversation. And we're going to formalize that conversation. We're going to have 22 public meetings starting. We actually started yesterday today, right? On with industry, with tourism, with different subjects. We have 4 public, for the people that want to participate virtually, we have 4 public meetings virtually. And we'll be coming back for every regional service district to have a public meeting also. Because we want to move forward on the green paper and have this discussion. Once these discussions happen over the summer, as you know, we've also, for each pillar that we'll be talking about, we have 4 pillars in the green paper. We have a committee, which is kind of leading us to discuss about the opportunities. So we have elected officials, subject matter experts, and people from LSDs. 30% of New Brunswick are LSDs, so 30% of the participants on these committees will be represented by LSD members, because that's how it works. And we want to make sure that LSDs have a voice. And we'll work over the summer. I hope to have, as our chair just alluded to, more public meetings like this. I hope by the end of August, we could be in a great situation to make sure that we have public meetings face to face, because I think we're in the people business. MLA Boggs and MLA Anderson Mason, we are in the people business. We love talking to people. And if we don't get the sense it's going right or wrong on one point, it's the best way for us to know. And I think that's our objective, to move forward by, I say, August, September, to have another paper. All right, it's the what we've heard paper. That's the one that kind of sets our final report, which will be a white paper. So green papers are meant to excite people, to put opportunities to discuss options, and a white paper is like the final report. So I didn't know anything about white papers and green papers before, but I'm getting pretty good at it. So white papers are the legislative calendar. It is how government will be moving forward. The cabinet, the premier, has also the possibility of responding to the white paper, but we'll definitely see at that moment where local government reform brings us. So to talk about the pillars, so we have 4 pillars. The 4 pillars are structure, what's the current structure that exists. The second one is regional collaboration. I think this is a great exercise that we're doing today. Land use planning in the province, and everybody's favorite, finances and taxation. So there's always 2 questions that people ask me. 2 questions. Are you going to force us to amalgamate, or are my taxes going on? Well, I'm here to answer those 2 questions. I know the opposition last week during estimates asked me that question, and I answered them as I will today. So the first question: are we going to force amalgamation? We're not going to force people to do anything they don't want to do. That's number one. I think talking to the premier about 2 months ago, you asked me, what's your biggest surprise in this reform up to now? I said, Premier, there's not region which is homogenous or we're alike. We're all different. We have our different strengths and we have our different challenges. And let's recognize that. Let's actually embrace it. Because number one, identity and structure is the most important. People love where they come from. We had a great discussion, Kathy and I, on St. Stephen and Milltown. Maybe there's some Milltowners here, I don't know. I don't know the difference, but there's a difference before, I guess. So obviously. So it was really interesting. So that's where we want to go. And on force amalgamation, we're not going to force people to do something, but we know that there's a challenge. There's problems with our current structure. Number one, there's 340 entities for 750,000 people. The province next door of Nova Scotia, they did their local governance reform, and they're down to 50. So we know that. So cross jurisdictional scans, we know that. The province of Quebec is actually moving forward with some reforms as we speak right now. They tried to do some robust amalgamations. It didn't work. So we're learning from them. I actually met the minister last week from Quebec, Minister Lefebvre. They're working more on planning right now, land use planning, and I'll talk about that a little more. So I'm not mentioning, we're not gonna force people, but the status quo is really not how a good organization, a good government, a good business would definitely not wait 60 years to improve itself. So that's number one. So that's my answer to that. My answer to the second one on taxes, are my taxes going up? Well, I can tell you one thing. I know the mayors around the table and the people that make decisions on councils, it's about services. Whatever service you provide, that's the amount of taxes you pay. And it should be like that all the time. If you want more services, well, you have to pay more. Want less services? And that's what I think great about our government as progressive, conservative members. We let people decide what they want to do. We don't tell them what to do. We have to have that conversation because we don't force people to have a service that they don't want. So that's my answer on that one, because it's all about services. And as a former counselor, if I wanted a new service, we're going to pay for it. But if you don't want, so I can't see taxes being raised immediately in the next 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, if you don't provide more, you don't get more services. So I think what spectacular and what's special about Charlotte County, you guys rolled up your sleeves on infrastructure project, recreational projects, and said, let's work together. This is something that I want to bring to the rest of the province, what's happening in Charlotte County. You guys are actually doing the heavy lifting right now. You guys are having those tough conversations. You don't need the province to tell us what you guys to do. You guys are doing it yourself. That's great. That's what it's all about. And I, yesterday in the Peninsula, in the Ristigouche last week, I said, follow what Charlotte County's doing. They're actually having those discussions right now. Don't wait for reform. So hence, the biggest rivalry in New Brunswick, I think it's Campbellton Dalhousie. Campbellton Dalhousie has to be the biggest rivalry between towns. People don't talk to each other. But in November 2020, the two mayors looked at themselves and said, okay, that's it, guys. So for the first time in 60 years, they sat down, both councils. They went through that exercise. Wasn't that bad, actually. I asked the two mayors, what brought you to sit down together? Well, you guys are doing reform, so we just said, let's move forward at it and see where it goes. Since then, they've had 3 meetings. We talked on services, recreational plans. I said, don't listen to me, go see what Charlotte's doing. Charlotte County's doing. They're already on. We're looking on water, sharing water, and the mayor Peltier from Dalhousie this week said, well, maybe we should amalgamate in one big city. So that's great for them. That part of the province, they want to move forward on that. So we know we have 4 pillars. So structure, regional collaboration, land use, and financing. So the number 1 is structure. Structure, we have 6 structures today. So what's a structure? Well, it's the way that we govern ourselves. So we have cities, towns, villages, LSDs, regional municipalities. I'm always missing one around rural communities, right? So we have 6. Are there some other opportunities? So in our green paper, there's about 8 or 9. Brunswick News came up with county, bring back county governments. Well, we kind of have a county government here, kind of. It's a region. So how can we move forward on other opportunities? In Quebec, they have what's called a community of interest, the MRCs. What's happening in others? In other municipalities, in Nova Scotia, you have regional municipalities, regional county municipalities, actually. So there's different opportunities for New Brunswickers to look at what's going on in New Brunswick. And is there homegrown solutions that we can find here? So that's what we have to find on structure. And I think Mr. Finn was pretty adamant when talking to in the last, maybe went twice, hope to meet in the next couple of weeks. We have to get the structure right. So as a group here, second thing I'm asking you guys to do, I'm asking the mayors to talk to your LSDs. The LSDs, talk to your mayors, talk to your councils. How can we work together? We're all in the same region. We have 12 great regions. Let's talk to each other. And I think this has been a great exercise. No, I've been tough. The mayor Ann Seaman from Riverview is retiring. She's not re-offering. She's been here 9 years. She said, she looked at me, she was great testimony. She said, I was dead set against regional service commissions. I said, I'm not going to those meetings, they're gonna be a waste of time. She says, Danny, it's the best thing that ever happened to us. I said, why? Well, first of all, it's best practices. I didn't know that this community was doing this. Geez, it got me thinking in our community, what can we do? And how can I improve my community? And the second thing, I got to know my neighbors. And I never went to Dieppe. I didn't know what it was to live in Dieppe. So when you have that type of individual who have enormous respect for and believes in the tool of regional service commissions, geez, you never know, this thing is a great structure. So we have to look at that on structures. Regional collaboration, well, you're doing it right now. How can we improve it? Is local government department, is our department a barrier for regional collaboration? I think one of the challenges or problems that we find of having not reformed the local government structure earlier, there is some inefficiencies, there is some duplication. Is there any asset management plans for the region? And probably Hollis is something that's definitely working on those. We have always the fire protection services sometimes, one town not talking to the other town. So they're buying the same piece of equipment, but we don't have another piece of equipment that the region should have. We need that collaboration. So how we can find efficiencies, reduce duplication. And I think that's what we have to do. Land use planning for me is probably my biggest eye opener. As even a counselor, I knew land planning was definitely important. Remember, McEachern and I talked about land use planning and, you know, building permits and the importance of planning. It's not sexy, but for New Brunswick, land use planning is probably one of the most important pillars for us. And I think what really surprised me is that 85% of New Brunswickers don't have a proper land use plan or even minimum standards. So you talk about the forestry, and you talk about agriculture, two industries were the cornerstone, fisheries, cornerstone of our province. People don't have a statement in some communities on agriculture moving forward for the forestry. So that was kind of worrisome. So we have to move forward with these industries. These are the industries of the future. These are the industries that are innovative. As we know, we only, I think we only produce 3 or 4% of our food production right now. Can we try to increase that? I think that's opportunities here in our regions. Forestry is definitely something that's built New Brunswick. People are looking for wood. I know the price of wood. I'm trying to build a deck right now, and my wife has been looking at me the last 2 weeks and saying, "Gee, I told you it should build last year. I told you." So that's been quite a great discussion of my house on the timing of our little deck. So again, there's opportunities, but doing land use planning is a statement. It's a statement of how we feel that we should develop our land. How do we want to push economic development moving forward? And it's important for our kids to know that. It's important for businesses from outside, because it's a message that we want. We're in the business of doing farming, agriculture. We're in the business of doing forestry. The fisheries and agriculture for this area is second to none. So how do we take it from there to there? And that's how we innovate. That's how but we have to build those statements. And we haven't done a statement like that in a while. And the last one, and none the least, which is Ryan's favorite, and his finances, taxation. It is being, probably our taxation system has not been overhauled again in 40, 50 years. There's several examples across North America right now, which you have different classes of taxation. In New Brunswick, it's easy. It's resident or non-residential. Basically 2 classes, and we don't decipher, we don't. One of my biggest beefs at the city of Dieppe was water use. You know, how can we determine that a family of 6 and a senior on low income or fixed income is paying the same thing as that family of 6 people with a pool, and so I know it's the meter is the best solution, but again, it's costly. So how do we innovate and how do we find things like that? So taxation is something important. It's not my, it's probably one of my least, I'm going to be honest, I'm learning every day on taxation. Taxation is something interesting, but again, we have to move forward. We all know that apartment owners, the affordable housing issue is an issue, and one of those solutions would be to eliminate that double tax. So we're definitely looking at that to see how can that be. In St. John at one point, I know we were talking with the member of the opposition also wanted maybe to tax equipment in manufacturing facilities. I was working for a manufacturer at that time, so I was ferociously against it. But again, when you're looking to do a reform like this, you have to look at every possibility, and then you take it out again. So that's something. So on taxation, finances, it's hard. It's about services, but again, our objective is to make sure that we try to innovate and how can we look at it in a different way. Again, I think the reason why we're doing these reforms is that it hasn't been looked at in 60 years. And there's 3 reasons why, if we don't move forward on reform, these 3, it will definitely be an impediment for economic development moving forward. Some municipalities will lose services because we have some services that some municipalities, great example is the Riverside, Albert, 300 people, Alma, 213 people. They don't just have that capacity of providing some of the services if they don't work together. And the last one is we'll lose infrastructure. Perfect example is 48 hours as an MLA. I had 2 ladies come to my office. They're waving a set of keys. They're, and I'm Ghanaian, Madame Richard. I said, so what are you guys doing? She said, well, we're on the board of the Irishtown Community Center, which is, as you know, my LSD of Irishtown is 10,000 people. It does the whole, it's next to my riding, but it goes from Lewis Mountain to Irishtown to Lake Grove. So there's 10,000 people in that LSD. LSD, which is somewhat active, only 3 members on it. And I said, so what are you giving the keys for? Well, we're 6 on the board, 75, I'm retired. We've done it for 25 years. It's up to somebody else to do something. It seems that nobody cares. They all just go to mountain and that's it. So I said, they said, a problem for money? Nah, we've got tons of money. So what do you mean you got tons of money? Oh yeah, we got like GICs and a couple of $100,000 in bank. Okay, so what's nobody just cares anymore. And that's what's going to happen if we don't move forward in some infrastructure. We will collaborate on infrastructure. We're going to lose infrastructure. Did you know that 63 communities in New Brunswick, Ryan is their fire chief. The Department of Local Government manages 63 firehouses. And it's just getting, every week, there's a community that comes with some keys and say, Ryan, here's another one. And that's worrisome. So, and look, on the first fire protection services, that's been an eye-opener for me. We've got 4,000 great volunteers working every day on fire protection for us. We've got 500. And we want to make sure that the standards are up, and that's why we're working with public safety. So, is that infrastructure that if we don't move forward, I'm afraid that we'll lose some infrastructure, we'll lose services, but the worst for my kids, I've got a 15-year-old, 16-year-old, 2 girls. I wanted to stay in Brunswick. I don't want to lose economic development opportunities. That's and we have to make that statement. We have to have that new social contract with the Brunswickers to say, this is how we feel in local government, and that's how we should do it. So, Ryan, did I forget anything? Oh no, I forgot one thing. There's another little caveat that we're doing in the green paper that's, it is there, not there, and it's really important for our teams that are managing our regions. It's the administrative maps. So as you know, in government, we have 15, 16 departments. But did you know that each department has their little administrative map? So we all know the Department of Health. How many maps? How many zones? 7. Social development? 4. Transportation? 15, we still use the old county maps from 1967. Education, 4 in Anglophone, 3 in Francophone. So service in Brunswick, 38. There's no really maps, it's just point of service and that's it. So each department has their different administrative maps. So Ryan's team, the last couple of months, have been working with their clerk, Cheryl Hansen, and trying to get each department to at least look at the regional services boundaries and try to do their mapping, administrative mapping, with those same maps. And as you know, there's a revision this year of the electoral map also. So we hope that that revision of the electoral map will mimic some of our regions also to help with that. Because it's easier when one department talks to another department, when they're talking about a region or a subsection or an administrative map, that they talk about the same region. So we can find efficiencies and to make sure. So that's something I forgot. And I know it's burning in Ryan's desire to get that map going. So on that point, I'm open to questions, comments. Yes, sir.
I'd just like to make it, point out now for the minutes that this is not just Charlotte County, this RSC. We do have 4 deputies from York County.
It's because I'm St. Stephen today, so you're right, so thank you for highlighting that.
It's taken quite a while on the board level to realize we are.
And again, if you don't feel comfortable tonight, it's all right. I gave you my card. Please use it. My phone number, my direct line's 444-6767. There's their MLA Bacchus and Anderson Mason that are here that I seen Fredericton every week. Please do not hesitate. If there's some members of your LSD advisory, your councils, I want to come back. I want to come back and visit York County and Charlotte County to make sure that you guys are heard. I'm in the people business. I love people. And I want to make sure that when we have our white paper done, that at least people have their say. And I definitely respect that. I think citizens, governments, politicians don't like to be surprised. So that's why for us, we're going to take our due diligence, take our time and move forward with reform within the year and make sure everybody has this. Yes, sir.
You mentioned a lot about the municipality working with the LSD. I'll go back to it's I think that if you want to have some good insight, you should talk to the sheriff because in Harvard, it seems to stretch up part of the mountain quarter, back into the lake down the yellow, which is only actually village. But they all work together with the municipality in the area. The very deep, here being done up properly. Work in all different aspects with the community and with that area. No, we've never had a problem. Some of these people, LSD seem to have a problem with the municipality. Well, I think that they're going to learn a little bit about it. I think government should stop with something like that. I think we have an MLA. They don't get like on their either. I don't know why, it's because we're such a shake up there, so but anyway, that's to be that.
I can't, we've got great MLAs. So that I can attest to you, we've got great MLAs that have been working on behalf of municipalities and LSDs. I can tell you, as indicated, sir, we've done over 40 meetings with LSDs. I am the mayor and council of LSDs in New Brunswick. And that's why for me, it's important we have this discussion. There's 30% of New Brunswickers that don't have a democratic right to vote during municipal election time. And if there's one thing I definitely learned from LSDs They're not part of the problem, they want to be part of the solution. So there's some municipalities and some cities that have to wake up, because as I indicated to the 8 Cities Association, your approach is all wrong. When you say 8 cities equals strong products, I totally don't agree with that. I told those 8 cities, I said, when's the last time you guys talked to LSD members or your representatives? And it was all alligator hands. They all could go right to their shoulder, but they couldn't go up. And I indicated to them at their last meeting, we should be strong regions, strong province, or we live in a strong province. So to your point, totally agree. I will definitely take that up. I think Ryan's taking some notes. And if there's something that I want to do, is to make sure that we raise that level of discussion with LSD members. LSD members have not had the chance as municipalities, because they're more organized, they have some funding mechanism. So we are working on that right now. We're actually working with the new association of LSDs to work with a subject matter expert to have their point of view from LSD's point of view. So I think that's definitely a good way to move forward. And I can assure you that I will be talking in the next couple of months with LSDs for sure.
All right, any other questions from our board? Mr. Evans?
Thank you again for the time, for the possibility to address you guys tonight. Again, it is part of our process. This is just starting. We're going to be working with great individuals that are managing our region. We want to be, I want to hear from you guys, and please do not hesitate. If you have anything, any questions, comments, please do not hesitate. Again, it's been, and I just thank you for making amendments to the agenda tonight. I started my day in Bathurst, so I'm going to finish it in Moncton tonight. So thank you.
Okay, Board, while waiting for our guest sleep, we'll do a short, so in, Andrea Anderson, maybe, I know that.
I'm not on the board, but I wouldn't mind just saying two things before we end. First of all, you said you came from Bathurst today. I hope you do not have this film if you.
No.
You can take it right back.
So I'm going to take advantage. I brought the sunshine.
You know, anybody who knows me around the table, you know that I don't mind speaking my mind. And sometimes I think it's seen as a little bit of firecracker. You just never quite know what this is going to say, but I'll say what's on my mind. And there is something that I do want to emphasize tonight, and I want to throw my support completely behind what I'm hearing from Minister Allen. I've had the privilege of being in government for 3 years. So I guess I'm the most senior politician here for the province of New Brunswick for tonight. And I've had the privilege of working with some really great people. Actually, I'm going to start with Ryan Bundy over there, because I have worked with him for 2 years. And don't let his youth fool you. This man knows more about this topic than anybody else I've ever met. And so we are in very good hands. And we're also in great hands with this minister as well. You know, I watched different things that are going on in our government, and I'll be honest with you, there are a few areas that I'm looking at. I'm just a little bit skeptical about the amount of consultation that has been going on with a few decisions, but I can tell you I do not feel that way at all about municipal reform. Kudos to you, Minister. Hats off to you. I cannot believe the amount of traveling that you have put in, and it shows that your heart is in this. I also want to tell a little story, because a lot of people ask me about what does local government reform, what does it actually look like? You know, is it just about taxes? Is this about forced amalgamations? You know what? It is a little bit about taxes, and it is about whether or not we're going to amalgamate. But let me tell you what it really is. I had a gentleman come in from Deer Island a few years ago, actually when I was practicing law, into my office, and he was dealing with his church. And he was telling me about all the changes he was making in his church. So if anybody has ever belonged to a church, you know that we make changes in the church, right? You move, what's the old saying? You move the organ an inch at a time. Yeah.
That's awesome example too.
So he comes in and he's telling me about what he's doing. And they've got this old historic church in Deer Island. And he's telling me how they ripped all the seats, all the pews out. And they're putting in like temporary seating so that they can move things around and have a gymnasium. And I'm sitting there with shock, because I know that you can't move the organ unless you move it an inch at a time. And I say to this man, how did you manage this? And he looked at me and he said, Andrea, it's about our future. And even though I am used to sitting in those old pews, and those pews have such value to me, and I know my great grandmother purchased one of those pews, what is more important to me is to know that there is a future for that church on the island. And if that's what I have to do, then that's what I'm going to do, because the future is more important. So when we talk about municipal reform, it might be painful for us to talk about taxation. It might be painful for us to talk about amalgamation and sharing resources, but I think what we have to keep as our number one priority is that this is about our future. And if we can keep that at the forefront of our conversation, then I think we can really do something here at the Brunswick. So thank you to each one of you who are here tonight. I can tell you that being a provincial representative, sometimes I think that this is the most challenging job in the world, but when I look around the room, I actually people sitting here have some of the most challenging jobs around, because you're the ones who are actually dealing day to day with people on the ground in a way that we as provincial politicians don't get to engage. And some of you I know might not be here in the months to come. Some of you maybe. Thank you for the time that you have put in, and thank you for your willingness to be here, and thank you for your willingness to have the conversations. Thank you, Mr. Erland, for being here tonight.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to use that one to own churches. I love it. And by the way, for my car enthusiasts, I've done, I just hit the 20,000 kilometer mark in 6 months. Thank you.
While our guests leave, I'll ask the board members if you want to take a brief break, go ahead, and there's your supper there. Most of us had to skip supper to come. So we'll adjourn, we'll come back in about 5 minutes. Let's stop the stream.
Thank you. Right. Okay.
Just a
Big plan, big plan. Officer for city. You guys come from a-
Yep, all thank you.
Thank you. And we'll see each other.
Yes, you can absolutely do that. So are you?
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Helped me out tremendously the other day.
What, for what?
Changes to the regulations.
Oh, excellent. Thank God. Well, there's another thing I've been trying to do. I know it's a government budget, one of the things that's really problematic is with the new regulation. It took out the connection between electrical permits and building permits. And I said to them, if you do that, ours, they increase the standards. Those are around here, which are illegal for a sort of environment. They got 3 votes passed now. Excellent. That's because you're a professional. Energize a building that's working. I'm gonna use it. I can make the argument. Like 1 year.
Thank you.
Nice to see you.
Anytime you want to talk. Well,
Here, Alex.
Come in. Grace, where did I get my mask off to here? Oh, shittabur. Come in.
Hello,
Hello.
how are you?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good.
That's good.
Well, it's time to have coffee, I guess.
Tell me when it's done.
We are alive, Madam Chair.
Okay, we are live again. We paused for a bit, while our guest presenters left and the board members took a bit free break. And then we had a closed session. So we're back in regular session and we're at point B on the agenda, which is the adoption of the minutes of the February 25th, 2021 meeting. And once again, those minutes were circulated in your board package. So I'm looking for a motion to adopt as circulated. We have Winston hollered out someone. Do you want to? Seconded by Annette. Okay, are there any questions or discussion arising from those minutes that were circulated? Anything that anybody wants to know or ask about? Any questions? No? All right, so we'll, if you're in favor of adopting those minutes of the February 25th, 2021 board meeting, is that correct? It should have been March. It was March, the March board meeting, that escaped my notice. Was it March 25th? Let's look at our calendar.
Yeah.
March the 25th, not February 25th. So adoption of the minutes of the, let me just double check and make sure the date on the minutes themselves is correct. It is, okay, so we're just changing that on there, so we're looking.
No, this is March.
Oh, sorry, I'm looking at an old one. That I printed. Okay. Let's back to this one. So we're, have the motion, we have the second. We had no discussion around it, and I apologize for my error in that. This one did say February, but it's an old one. The report was corrected. We'll be looking for the vote, if you're all ready for the question. All in favor of adopting those minutes of the March 25th, 2021 board meeting as circulated, and raise your hands for Claudette to count you, and then we'll go to the screen. Perfect. You got the hands counted? Okay. Anybody contrary to adopting can certainly indicate with a raised hand or a shout out. I don't hear you. Okay. All right. We have our motion, Claudette?
Yes.
Okay. Minutes have been carried. Thank you. There's no business arising from previous meetings. There's no new business under the agenda, so we'll move on to committee and staff reports. We'll start out as usual with the executive director's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm keeping it brief because I know that it's a tight evening. So it's included in your report. You can see our solid waste is slightly less than last year, but still within range. And things are going fine there. Our building permits are through the roof compared to last year, which were also through the roof from the year before. We are flat out in our planning department. So back to solid waste, our public drop-off construction has started, and we are underway in getting that together. Hopefully we'll be able to see a public opening of that later this year. In planning, as you can see there in the report, we've got 83 combined permits so far this year, which is unheard of. We have increased our capacity in the building inspection department to keep up with demand. And we've done that in-house. The planners remain busy finalizing several rural plans at the moment, and they're staying on top of municipal work, including some bylaw development. The only other thing I have to report is our last executive directors meeting. We had two kind of things that we talked about. We had staff from ELG attend that meeting, and they were talking about the upcoming municipal elections and the orientation that's going to happen after that. They had given some dates, but those dates are out the window right now because now we're waiting for the results of municipal elections, which is to be determined. They are planning to do some orientation though with municipal council. The other big topic of discussion, of course, was that the green paper had been released a couple of days beforehand, so we shared some thoughts on that, which were fairly wide-ranging. And that's my report, Madam Chair.
Any questions for Hollis about this executive director's report? No, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the strategic plan update again. And once again, Hollis will be presenting that.
Okay, again, that's in your package. There's a couple of things I'll highlight in bold that have changed this month, but I believe I sent out the actual whole strategic plan with this month's board package so that everybody could have it. So like I said, in my previous report, we've increased our capacity in building inspection to meet the demand that we are seeing right now. And the other kind of bigger project that we started, which will increase efficiency and drive down some costs, is our geothermal HVAC system for the administration building. is now underway. We've cleared off some space and doing some of that work ourselves. That was my report, Madam Chair.
May I just ask you something about that in Hollis? I saw this in last month's too. It says planning staff recommending innovative planning tools to greatly increase the development / supply of new workforce housing stock. And then it says that development scheme bylaws. Is that something that's just kind of in the germination phase?
I'm sorry, I missed.
Oh, okay, under updates in the strategic plan,
Okay,
update, it says planning staff recommending innovative planning tools to greatly increase the development / supply of new workforce housing stock.
Yep.
And then it says dash, and then it has anything, not really, quotes, development scheme bylaws. Is that something that's in the germination phase?
yes, yeah, it's not completely.
Okay.
fruition.
So has it,
One of the things that has happened in planning is we're increasing our capacity for mapping
Mhm.
various maps. In fact, you'll see a little bit of that in the annual report.
Mhm.
There's a couple of maps that are there. So that's also helpful in that stage. So that goes along with what we're talking about there.
so the development scheme bylaws, is that something that's been before RCO yet, or staff is working on to bring forward?
I'm missing it.
Okay. Do you have a strategic plan complete in front of you?
Yep.
Okay. Look down to on the very first plan.
Yep.
There's community planning activities, and there's underway, and then there's updates. The very last bullet point.
Yeah, why don't you speak to that, Alex? You're
Yeah,
better at this though.
yeah, I think
This part.
I gave also a couple of points here. That's an interesting tool, but it's for, it's mainly municipalities who can use it. It's ideally for a municipality who has some land that they want to develop. We recommended it, we talked to all the CEOs about this idea of using it, specifically if you want to encourage some housing development.
Okay.
A very like logical, well-planned manner that it's quicker than doing a bunch of rezonings and RFPs and
Okay.
infrastructure plans all separately and then trying to work it all together at the end. It's a front-loaded process that once you get it done, it's there and it's just until you phase the development out and all your tools are right there in that one file. It's really neat.
Oh, neat.
So we're talking to all the municipalities about it. But
It sounds very interesting. So it's not a project that the board is working. It's not a board project. It's a planning project with the municipalities.
exactly, just one of the tools they can use for local planning.
Perfect. Thanks for that clarification, Alex. I wasn't sure, and this is the second month I saw it, so I was like, I'm gonna ask. Thank you. I appreciate that. It sounds really interesting, and I think from the sounds of it, it'll make things much easier. And I know that the housing issue is really tight here. I know that. So thank you for that. Any other questions besides mine for Hollis about the strategic plan update? Yeah? Okay, we'll move on to the next part of the agenda. And that would be the Regional Collaborative Committee report. Carrie James, Mayor Box Harbor, is the chair of that committee. So Carrie, take the floor.
All right, thank you very much. We had a meeting on April 8th. It was a virtual meeting. Sherry Stewart spoke about the recreation policy awareness campaign results. She presented a survey of the survey results and responses from the public awareness campaign. There was a discussion on boosting survey and awareness website on social media. And over the next few weeks to gather more responses. And then she gave a brief overview of the total website visitors and direction of traffic. Under policy adoption, there was a discussion surrounding the motion to delay the approval of the draft regional recreation master plan policy that was held in March in anticipation of the green paper. Then there was a discussion on the green paper, which has now been released. and whether to defer the decision to motion the adoption of the draft regional recreation master plan policy further until more public input is received. And the consensus was to motion the adoption of the draft regional recreation master plan policy at tonight's RSC meeting. So, I'd like to make a motion to approve the draft regional recreation master plan policy as circulated.
That is in your package. It is an 11-page document. I trust you've all had time to read it. If there's any questions, we have the motion on the floor. Do we have a seconder? Oh, one is the hand up, Alan. So with the motion being seconded, we can now get questions or discussion about the draft policy that was circulated. Any questions or discussion? We have Wayne McCord.
This isn't just draft, this will be final thing, right?
This is one, if it's adopted, it would be the version that we're using, yes. Okay, it's toward the back after the HR manual updates, it's toward the back of your little binder of packages. Okay. 5.2.
Where the 2 cents showed up.
2 cents.
Yeah. Bill is the amalgamation stuff, all sort of that. Because towns and LSDs amalgamate, or however they plan on doing it, there's gonna be more money in there. So you, why you raise taxes? It's all, we're gonna get money over that way.
Al?
You're all saying that, you speak of yourselves. Yeah, they say for example, they close the rink. Right. Then our money is not home there, our money is going to
We want St. George and Charlotte.
Well, all the way. That's what you're saying. Yeah, I know what I'm saying. Yeah. Yeah, devil's advocate. They close the rink, okay. Yeah. Our money's going west now.
But it's part of that cautionary thing, I believe, that if recreation facility were to close down, then it's the RSC that determines the outflow of the revenue, right?
Yeah, but they also in the intention, and I can't point to the number of it right now, but is that all money collected within a zone stays within the zone.
Right.
So that would be the Fundy High School catchment area for that part. Any money collected stays within that zone.
If we had a financial outlook for the year, then we'd be with that closure. You know, that's the problem.
I think you have to look at this document as a document. As things change, so too will this document. Those, say, the Garcelle Center was closed. If that structure closed, then it's up to renegotiation. Well, I look at from the perspective of that as a living dog, then that 2 cents is not, it's not cast in stone.
There's something that we hope to see done. Alex and I talked about this, getting sure, so, like say, each project, if we want to see something like that done, this person that's going to be running this would obviously try to incorporate that as part of their plan. And
buildings like this, is other recreation activities, and if we said could be looked at and could be.
You can put the store with parks.
That was always.
Although, not in the whole park.
The,
People walk.
the definition for what would meet the criteria is also in there. And where there's no physical facilities, it states that it could go toward a recreation director as well. So to help, bring awareness to the facility or to the open spaces that exist or
Yeah,
the
you already
other.
hired a record.
So
How about this, what about, the trails, they're going through Penfield, right, and Penfield might need some financial aid to develop their portion of it, would they be able to access those funds for that purpose?
I'm not sure, and,
Well,
No.
kind of the beauty of this is that each zone has its own committee. So the answer to the question of could the money be used for this or could the money be used for that? Well, that's up to you. And that's up to that's not up to, the staff or anybody else. That's up to the folks in that zone those committees are defined in here and they would be made up of a cross section of recreation professionals and local government folks and things like that. So that's the whole point to this policy is that you're in control of this money and where it goes.
and the board of the Southwest Regional, Southwest Emergency Service Commission has the final say when there's change as well. So it would have to be disclosed when there's a change like that. And then the decision would be made ultimately at the board table, is my understanding of how the
Yeah,
policy
that's
works.
correct.
So,
There's that area, say they wanted to throw out something. Or just, or this board just needs to solve that, not make that decision.
That's right.
it's
It's,
sub-regional, yes.
that's right.
The regional policy is the flat 2 cents and it stays within the zones of the region. It's collected from the zone, it stays within the zone. Anything over and above that, service commission would just be a facilitator, that zone wanting to do something individually. As far as the next step. Yes, Sam.
I'd just like to make a few comments. And, first of all, I just want to say that I generally in support of the policy. Need to prevent from doing that some short-term questions. I think there are questions. But I have not been answered. Adequately, one of them concern that I have. It says in there that after 2 years, that the facility is not sustainable, that funding being cut off, something to that effect. And that's fair enough. My question is, why do we wait 2 years to decide that? In other words, if this was through this year, if it wasn't going to be before, is this 2 cents going to go automatically to those facilities without any budget being asked if there is any more now? We let 2 of those facilities on the list of 5 that are quite making a lot of work, and more than one. Are those questions being asked or are they all? In other words, maybe ask for the economic solve. I'm not sure. So I think those are it may be in the weeds, maybe in the details, and maybe you will not be able to say it. But to me, I'm looking at why are we wait 2 years to see that's sustainable? Should there not be some before the money is due? If that's sustainable, or maybe it's not, I think the facility. There's some question about that in details that they sign up for 50 year different questions. Other facilities that, have supported an arena or formulas to make this calculate, so. We're gonna ask what does the cost run per medium? Or what does the cost run per month? Which may have varying off of the animal. I don't see any detail of that in here. So I'm just asking the question, how it was the rest or we actually go on a budget. Other than that, that we should organize with the policy.
And if I remember correctly, I wish I was sharing it with here, but if I remember correctly, the initial setup of it, because we had to start somewhere, was based on the inventory that was done in the regional recreation master plan. It was done the inventory study, so what existed when that study was completely adopted by the board, is the inventory that we were starting with that met this criteria, the framework and the policy. And I understand where you're coming from, Sam, and if every question's a valid question, that's what we're here for, and that's why we open discussion. But I do want to remind the board that a policy can be amended, a policy can be revoked, and the policy, I'm not suggesting it should be, I'm just explaining that there are options if we find it's not workable. If the board finds it's not workable, I believe it can be amended by a vote at the board table. It can be rescinded by a vote at the board table. And the other thing is, even if the policy is adopted, the budget with that in it has to pass. So that would have to happen later this year, I believe, by November it's supposed to happen. So there's many steps yet to go through before that 2 cents will actually start being collected and distributed in the 2021 budget. So if there are things that arise in the meantime, or serious issues that, the board discusses and find that, hey, this policy, I know, like you say, may need to be looked at, and certainly can come back to the board table to be amended as well. So do feel some confidence in that as well, the way the process works.
Well, with all due respect, thank you, sorry to hear it. One of the things that was mentioned at our last meeting was that it was implied that the past tonight that was very difficult. I just feel that that's a bit of a rational going to do that. That's not transparency. As I said, board policy. I think there may be some questions that should be asked. And we're going to work on it tonight. But support it, I don't know with that. I would be like voting for because it's going to make it convenient to get the budget passed. There's only so much time to do that. And discuss that. It's easy to say that, but then when the time comes and everybody says the same thing again, or well, we're time, we'll do it now, can't do it next year. That's a bit persuasive of us. Anyway, those are my comments. This is the policy.
And once again, at the table, who's waiting?
Just concerned about, how far we can go with this. We'll apply 2 cents now. And then say next year, just because financial situations, we want to recreation, so it's, we want to know. One of the things we keep that 2 cents, keep that 2 cents, keep that 2 cents. We don't really a whole lot of conservation, but we kind of processes, they're not legal reasons are okay. This time, I'm not saying we're reducing it. We're going to try this, we'll see what's right, and down the road, kind of gives us a lot of power to just keep middle of the way down. So, there's nothing in there to control that, there's nothing in there to say, going forward, basically this board would have the power to apply those increases. I don't see you go that way, but, you know. There's not a whole lot of conservation, there was some there. If we were to make another increase next year, there would be a whole lot of conservation. So that's just a concern of mine. I think we need to do it, we need to move forward, that's just cautionary. Say, you know, we have to be careful what we do as the board. With regards to this lawsuit.
Alan?
There is discussion on the other side too, because all of a sudden the money starts coming in. So then we're expected to provide better services to this college. You provide that service, and the next year you sign full consent with it, but we still have the gas that we may not afford money for, and that's the conclusion of the problem. So there's discussion, so there's some. I do believe all of that. Yeah. But we worry about that.
I'm Terry had her hand up first, if you don't mind. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was just, been listening, and it seems to me that there's provision, within the policy and House, correct me if I'm wrong, that if, one needed, say the 2 cents wasn't enough, and we realized we needed 3 cents, or whatever, don't we have to show justification, we bring it to the RSC board, and it's a board decision, it's not Terry James saying, oh, I want 5 cents, and now I'm saying, I need 3. It is a board decision, so if, and I'll use the 2 of us, because you're Western Charlotte and Eastern Charlotte, but if, after the first year, say it did go through, and after the first year, we realized we kind of shortchanged ourselves, because we need an extra penny to cover and then substantiate the cost, we bring that request back to the RSC board so that everybody has input on it and votes on it. It's not a solitary decision.
That's it. It weighs the power of the board, and basically ignores the general constitution.
Are we okay with this body, with audit tax and change tax? I'm just saying, like, I'm okay with it, but there's nothing built in here that says we have this many public hearings or this many, communications or when you're going to make a change or when you recommend a change. You get public opinion on it, there's nothing here that guides, we would do that as, step. Okay, so that's all I'm saying. It's just, I'm a little bit uncomfortable with having that.
So Wade, you're saying that in the future, let's say in 3 years, your concern is that the board could decide, based on its members' presentations, from the zones coming to the board, that the board could just unilaterally say, we want to increase this fund in the cooperative regional planning, this recreation fund, to a level that would mean we have to, that would add 10 cents.
Or decrease.
Or 5 cents, or whatever, and so the board could just do that without any criteria being met other than the representatives of the zones making the case to the board and no public.
Well, it does have to go to decide if that kind of required. That's still not up to. There was one word changed in the last draft in February one, which has again, but are not. Originally said the board could authorize. So they had that change at the committee level where to say the board would support or the cost of the minister. That's a big step in what allows this, right? There's still some alternatives. You actually use the drugs. And at one point, that study was recommending up to 6 cents. So, we're talking 2 years, but it will go to 6. But when we were in the East Charlotte study, the 6 would have been decided by, up meeting, but now it's decided by the whole. So,
Madam Chair, if I may,
Yes,
that, what you're talking about, the 6 cents, you're right, that was in the study that they recommended 6, but that was only for that region, not the entire region. That was only for that catchment area there, and that was only in relation to their proposed new facility. But just for a little bit of context, we make these decisions every year on, this amounts to $525,000 is what the 2 cents amounts to. And you as a board vote on, a $6 million operating budget every year. And we spend more than that on a lot of things. And you do already have the power to change what people pay in taxes simply by changing the tipping fee on the garbage. It's always been that way. So this is part of regional service. This is part of being a director of regional service commission, is making these kind of decisions. And so I just want to put some context around what we're actually
I
talking about.
appreciate what you're saying, but those things that we go on for essential services. Was garbage, fire, sector, recycling. Well, it's not the same, not the public. Just a different narrative, that's all.
I'm just trying to, learn it, so I feel that this board is no different from the board I'm part of myself. I could, just like that, right at the end of the one, board of trial. That council, which is separate board. And some, and our decisions that I want to be for. But you said, hopefully, you feel that you want to make the numbers support what you're doing. And we're all responsible to that, to make how to feel. Form of why you're making this decision. And, some people get it, a lot of some people get it. And this 2 cents is not a lot. This is just a starting point. It's not, it's not a huge amount of money. This is about it. But it's a start. Student working together. And hopefully it proves you and give 2 cents. There's that one extra event that's on your area to use or better. That's all.
It's not a matter of that's all. I support.
No, you in your area.
Yeah, but I understand, we're talking about people, you people are elected, you have a town office, you have a different narrative than we have. If you think that I can go over, instead of just in back and work full time and all that stuff, we just don't have so it's a little bit difficult. Some of us can do it, we have smaller LSDs, or we're in a smaller geographical area, or retired or whatever. It's not the same for every LSD chair to be able to get the same input that we can get as mayor. If down hall, any time of the day, and probably just and that's what the control. We don't have the same opportunity, but it's not they have to prove it to us, or everyone support it. Happens if there are some questions that the way now and the way are asked. The help that goes smoothly, more than anything, yes. Not to be critical.
I'll go to Terry first because she had her hand up first, and then we'll get you with.
Okay, it was more a comment. I was reflecting on what Anthony said, where it's a minuscule amount for St. Stephen that's not really gonna have a huge impact on the recreation budget. And I can tell everyone in this room, because certainly we're on God's heart, it will make the difference between keeping our arena, the only one from St. John House, the St. Andrews, operational. We're desperate. We need close to 100 grand a year I brought this concern every year I've been on this board, that we, small municipalities, not just the large, but smaller ones, need the help in order to provide recreation services for our people. So it's, like you say, it's a small amount, and maybe 5 years from now, it'll be 5 cents instead of 2. But those decisions will be made by the people who are here and around the table. So I'm just asking, like, for your consideration and valuation of recreation in your communities, whether you're in an LSC or whether you're in a municipality. But I just wanted to make that point because you're saying a rental pump. For us, it's the arena.
I'll get you after wait.
So, we'll make it wrong, 100% support of this. I really think that needs should be helpful. Communities like like six, put recreation. So we should use them, our kids use them, our kids use them. Making it now, they're not going to be there in the future. Absolutely. All I'm doing is just have a conscience check and say, we're understanding our scope here a bit, using plan that to apply tax that probably would normally be done by the government for funds. It's a little more visible. And I just want to make sure people understood that roads, there's more funds. We're going to be ones that be expected to make the assessment on that. We're going to be ones that be expected to vote on yes or no. That's more funds. I'm okay with it. I'm a little more comfortable. Now, since our citizens, I just want to get that up there so that we can see exactly what it is we're getting something.
Alan, do you have something else to say?
Yeah, well, I'm not like I said, I'm not like for municipal, but I think it's a start, all of it's a start. And I think we need to make a start to certify people that, see, when we get people by their 2 cents up there, then you might write them more. And you say, oh, you should do it. And then you explain to them that it goes to that conversation. It's not being passed all from $5 a year. Like I said, it's just a little, this is part of this conversation. No, I don't think it's just.
Well, that's not a bad way to look at it. The point of action, $20 or something. You don't have to go too far today on $20 based on for most of the $20, it's pretty good investment. So, maybe we can move on past it.
Well, we're here to ask questions and have discussion,
We're all good questions.
and they are all, I've enjoyed it so much. So, Mark, Dennis, did you have your hand up?
Go for me first and I'll.
Okay. Thanks, gentlemen.
My question is, if this passes here tonight, that means that this is going to go through and be put into the budget.
That means that yes, that means that we would be
Yes.
putting it into the budget, but the budget would then still have to be voted on.
The reason I'm asking that is because I plan on going to every one of my houses in my district, because we've been talking about going to the minister, get 2 cents out of our LSD, what we got.
Okay.
Recreation. And this will just say, if this passes, then I don't have to do that.
Oh, God, my honesty.
Well,
Save yourself some labor.
I'm just thinking what the way that the format or how you're going to approach any future increases in this 2%. Maybe we pass it tonight with so that before any increase can take place for this 2%, that it's the understanding of this board that we will sit down and create a set of guidelines by which that future increase could actually be taken into account.
Okay, just a second, Mark. Our financial officer, Mark, that's the same thing.
I believe the answer is, do we have legal authority as an RSC to act We don't tax anybody now.
Yes,
We provide bills to all municipalities and the LSDs for services we provide. But the LSD and municipalities do the taxation of property.
Right, so we're not actually increasing the tax, it's a way to understand we're impacting people's taxes. What we're doing is creating a fund under the regional and cooperative planning budget, saying we're going to collect enough so that we have this budget of, what, 500,000 something this upcoming year?
yeah, 525.
And then we will distribute it within the zone per this policy. So we're not levying a tax, you're right. We're creating a line item in our budget that directly affects our property taxation. So there is a difference, you're right, Mark. We're not levying a tax, but we are creating a line item in our budget that will in turn affect our tax, our property tax funds. Winston?
The way that it's cut with legislation, they're approved. I don't see. I don't see you the way to live with the LSD free. The LSD doesn't agree. Get active. The 2 cents, because they don't agree, something like that.
We, with this policy, if the board adopts it, it's a region-wide policy in every community. LSC member, whoever you are, your property tax bill will, what the fund we're creating based on the numbers that we had for property tax assessments and all that will result in an increase to property tax of 2%. It's not a matter of an LSD opting out or not wanting, because it's a region, it's kind of like, if we think in terms of the recycling program that we instituted, it's the same sort of thing. We're instituting one big program that becomes a line item in our budget, and this is how it affects each person's tax bill. And that's what we're doing. There's no opting out. If we pass this policy tonight and then it goes into the budget, it's an all-in, it affects the whole.
Well, there's no option out from the board, but the LSD. There's some sense of the tax, but not us.
It would go into the local planning budget, and Darren can speak to that. If it passes, it would go into the local planning
So
budget.
they want 2 cents, or they lose 2 cents worth of another service.
It would go up probably to 2 cents. I don't think we're gonna lose anything. But that's what my understanding is, Sam, is that we just go up by the 2 cents. And then the other services that are already there will be continued on because they're roads and fire services and shared fire services in most cases. And the policing is the largest chunk of it. So is that correct? If I'm not saying anything right here, I agree. Okay. So this wouldn't be an LSD by LSD, we're not doing it. This is the region, kind of like a recycling program, it's an all or nothing, and we all will feel the effect of it. Mayor Beth?
Yeah, I just wanted to support what Ken was saying. It was always my understanding that this 2 cents was to try to level the playing field a little bit, so that LSDs would have the financial contributors to what already existed in recreation services, almost all of which is in municipalities. Doesn't have to say that in the future, but my understanding was that if a sub-region decided they wanted something bigger, better, or something new, that there had to be a consultation process involving both the municipality, if there is one, and the LSDs that are part of the catchment area. And then that would get brought to the board to say, we're willing to put another 3 cents in. The other thing, so I agree with that. There has to be a strong consultation process, but this is just, in essence, buying a pass so that the LSDs around St. Stephen that are part of the catchment area are paying a little bit so they can use all the facilities that St. Stephen has, and they're contributing somewhat financially. The other thing that I think got missed here tonight in this part of the conversation is that municipalities are being asked to essentially match on the same kind of a basis in terms of a formula based on the size of the municipality. They're asked to take their money,
give it to you as well. And then that will be combined with the LSD money and then it will be distributed by this board. So it's not like it's just all coming one way from the LSD. We're taking our money from municipalities. And as Alan raised before and I raised before, even though for convenience purposes in the master plan, we picked the biggest recreational facility in each sub-region to put the money in to track it. But in fact, already in St. Andrews, we're paying about 14 cents on our rate just for recreational services. And we'll take 2 cents of that 14 cents and give it to you, 2 cents from the LSD and the next. That essentially around, that's the way I understand the way it was going to be done. And it certainly is a dramatic change. And somewhere along the way there, the minister being the mayor of the LSDs has to kind of agree to raise taxes. Now, essentially that part of the process.
And that's goes through the annual budget review and reapproval, but every one of my budgets that I submit has to go through another audit and approval before they sign off.
Alan?
So, you would have, that one, and this is always going to concern me, no matter how, is we are paying success as well. In that pot, but my 2 cents can grow, just this year, next year it's going to grow again. So my 2 cents grows. It's going to be growing the next few years. So I asked myself, well, what happens when I grow so much, so I'm paying out more if I get that? Because that's a percent growth, and it's happening. So again, this, it's based on 2 cents, it's based on cents. 2 cents could be worth more, and there's more building going on. We talk about my that's more success. So there.
Yeah, that's true.
We end up paying for what we get back.
Yeah. Annette?
I don't know what our LSD is gonna be that. There's nothing out there.
No, there's nothing. And I believe the concept of it was that for the LSPs that don't have the population base and the tax base to have a facility like that, or really even realistically, if you can build a facility in there, how much use would it get? So the concept is the towns have invested into it, and we can all take a spin into St. Stephen and use the facility or St. Andrews or Black Harbor for the exact same. Yeah, exactly. And that's a disparity in the gas tax system.
Yeah.
I agree, because the LSD residents pay mostly gas taxes, and it goes to the towns on just a regular formula, and the LSD that doesn't. So that's another conversation. But as far as the recreation, it's contributing to what goes to the children. I know I live in LSD and I use municipal facilities. I've been to Black Harbor Arena with my kids. I've been here to the Civic Center. I've been to St. Andrews when it had bowling in there, and even to the arena. So I can say, and I never had to pay more because I didn't live there. So I can say, as someone with children and hopes to have grandchildren stick around here, that seeing these facilities exist means a lot to me. Alan, we're back to you and then Terry.
So it's kind of gas.
Yeah.
Town resident is paying to 19.22 cents. On the and then we're going to pay another 2 cents. So that's, I mean, that's they're contributing a lot.
Oh, we're back to Terry.
We're all paying that.
Yeah. Well, just go back to Terry because she has hand up first. Back to Terry.
Chair, the motion moved and seconded. We've had a lengthy discussion. We still have the agenda to get through tonight, so I'm asking to call for the vote.
Let's talk about Ken's provision first. Yeah.
Yeah. I just went back through the document quickly. I couldn't remember reading the structure or how we do the inputs later on. I need to see it. So I think we comments are valid. That we need to have a provider. Not for tonight. We can still pass this document tonight, but we need to passion with the understanding that there needs to be a methodology of this, how do we move the increase that requires as we said. How does it? Either way, it doesn't matter.
I'd be receptive, to a friendly amendment on that motion. You wanna tag along, I would tag along on it, you know. To improve the drought regional recreation master plan policy as circulated and how, just trying to think of the wording.
With the provision that the board revisit.
Right, with the provision.
There it is.
Okay, yes, on the table, the circulated. But it was a provision that the board, the RSC board,
Revisit the policy to address,
Policy or
revisit the policy to ensure provisions for increases or decreases
to ensure.
in the per 100,000 assessment. Yeah. That work?
That worked for everybody and then.
Just whenever there was to be one, if there was discussion to increase or decrease, set the parameters for how to do it. That there was no, I don't think there was any. Because as assessments go up, like Alan said, assessments go up, right? Was there a timeline suggested for that, Ken?
no, I didn't have my plan, I just felt, should the situation arise where, the costs are going up faster than the income's coming in, then you need to go back and revisit how you do your operation, how you're gonna bring that income in.
All right, and wait,
I would make a say about this, with the caveat that, process and criteria developed for changes to the rate.
to the rate being charged, yeah. All right,
Captain, are you in agreement with that from the amendment?
We all said, it's all license. Then we sit down and have that meeting and said, no, now it's all built. Now it's going to stay outside of that. Either it's just cool or get out, one or the other.
yeah,
We gotta commit something like, there's gonna, okay, there's gonna be a minimum on that, maybe.
Yeah.
At least. We can't rush off. Without, without something that actually close the way, but it's still there, it's gonna keep operating, maybe we should say how it's operating. But something's gotta be a little more solid. But
we're starting the
as you
policy.
said, it's not usually say, but I'm saying, if someone commits a nickel or something that's something that no one was always here water, and we all, the whole idea is that make sure we don't have 20 testimonies, 3 or 4 rings, and we have then sustain the ones we have and make it great. So yeah, all in those. Oh,
It's like Alan said and Wade said and Sam and everybody's commented, it's a starting point. And the policy can be revisited, revised, amended, absolutely, with vote at the board table if we find that there's something that can be improved upon. So as a starting point, I guess, is where we're looking at with the motion to adopt with the friendly amendment. The provision being made. So are there any other questions? We still have an AGM to get to. I'm certainly not trying to shut down discussion. And the challenge for this board is that we don't meet again until after municipal elections are done and mayors are sworn in. And now the government has delayed the results coming out because of the northern zone not being able to hold there. So we literally have no idea when this board can meet again. And like Sam said, we shouldn't rush something for the sake of rushing it, absolutely. we're in a quandary. We're trying to take on a big project and we have these election challenges as well. So you all have the ability to make that decision and you're proving your wisdom in the projects you've accomplished in your cooperation. So I trust you with this one as well, absolutely. Any other further questions or new questions or discussion? We won't revisit anything already been discussed, but any new questions or discussion? Ready for the question? Okay, all in favor of adopting the policy with the friendly amendment, can raise your hand. On the screens as well, if you're in agreement. We lost Wayne. Kathy, in agreement, I'll give you a chance for me as well. Keep your hands raised till Claudette can see you. That's okay. She was busy typing. Just keep your hands up till Claudette counts, please. We will have a call for names as well.
Dennis, Wayne to. Dennis, Dennis, Wayne. And then did you get that? Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so we're good.
And on the screens, we have Kathy's hand up.
Yep.
To vote yes, okay. You got your calendar around the room. All contrary minded to the adoption of the policy can also so indicate by a raised hand. Heather? And Heather is a nay? Okay. All right, we have our adoption of policy. Thank you, board members. Thank you for the robust discussion and questions and dialogue. That's what a board is all about. So we certainly appreciate it. And we always keep it simple here. Anything else, Terry? Sorry.
No.
Nothing else? We're good? Okay. We're just wanting to get up to our AGM. All right. We're going to move on to the bylaw committee report. And we're going to turn that. Oh, sorry. Thank you. It's a pleasure to see you.
Great to see you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to the bylaw committee report, and Jim Tubbs is the chair of that committee, so I'll turn it over to Jim.
All right. First of all, I'd like to thank the members and committee for the great and that counts for all the contributions that they've given to the bylaw committee over the past year or almost a year and a half. In our efforts to update and simplify the bylaws of this organization, I'd also like to thank Joyce for her excellent presentation of the amendments at the last board meeting. I was unable to attend. As a result of the suggestions that were made at that meeting, a supplemental draft wording was sent to each member on March the 26th by email, and the final draft was sent out to everyone on March the 30th. So everyone has had lots of opportunities to read the emails and see all the changes that were made to bylaws. I therefore now move that the draft bylaws of the Southwest Electric Service Commission presented to the board on March 25th, 2001, and distributed on March 30th, 2021, be adopted. I so move.
We have a motion. Do we have a seconder? Terry, we have a sign may go up. Any questions or discussion about those bylaws and the draft that was circulated?
What of those stuff was missed?
Pardon me?
What of those things were missed?
What was this?
Well, parliamentary, when parliamentary is not a meeting. Nothing in there about the ones who are everyone represent parliamentary acts.
It was never in there, was it?
No.
Okay, so again, that could be if it was missed and it's something the board feels it should be in there, which, good point, Dennis. I never realized it was not in there. But that's something that can be done through a notice of motion for a single bylaw revision as well. So when the board is able to meet again, there wants to be a notice of motion to add a bylaw reflecting that, it would be an excellent thing to bring back to the table, and it can be done without having a whole bylaw revision.
Like I said, I've got something right.
Do you?
Yeah, and one of them, another one of them is, put the, honorary for all the other committees that back.
There,
Station 75.
I think every committee was supposed to be updated.
We did.
I think it's 75.
It might have just been
I
a,
even know online, it's still $75.
well, the motion was for all committees to get it, so it will be, yeah, it will be done regardless of whether the numbers are in there. That's the challenge with having the numbers in the bylaws, having the numbers in the tables, and just refer to the tables makes it easier, because it needs
I think also what I remember correctly, the BRAC has its own bylaws. And that honorarium is written in the bylaws for BRAC, not bylaws of the Regional Service Commission. Both, I know it's in both, and then because the Regional Service Commission pays, when we made the motion to increase the pay for committees, then that would have also covered BRAC. So it should be covered by that amendment that we made back in February.
yes, it would get the cost of living increase, yes, yeah, it just got missed in the actual one part. But,
I will bring them up with you,
okay, bring them to the board table again when the board's allowed to meet again, because it's important if something's missed to bring it to the board's attention and have a discussion about it, absolutely.
And like I said before, previous thing, this here should have been a special meeting for this and recreation plan, as it was gonna take too long.
So we have a motion, we have a seconder, that's some points of discussion, do we have any more? Something about the draft that was circulated there. Question or discussion about the draft that was circulated? None? Ready for the question? All in favor of adopting per the email on March the 30th? I believe. Oh, we do have a question? Oh, okay, just get your hand in there. All in favor, stick your hand up. We're trying. Well, one thing about it, the AGM doesn't have guest presenter. Okay, so it'll go fast. Okay, on the screen, perfect. Anybody contrary minded to the adoption of the draft bylaws can certainly so indicate with an upraised hand as well. No nays noted. All right, we'll move on to the human resources. Oh, sorry, Jim, back to you because this is your report, part of your report. Is there anything else that you have?
No, there's something else there. Thank you very much.
And thank you, Jim, for being chair of that committee and getting this huge project done. Thank you so much. We'll move on to the Human Resources Committee report. Wade Greenlaw is the chair of that committee. Wade, take the floor.
Yeah, and mentioned earlier, the assessment, with that, and, we also went through the HR manual, clean it up, set up, the change to the board. Then, the best opportunity to provide. So those things were summarized, I'll have about that. So any questions on that, or make a motion to accept it? Okay, so I'll make a motion. The HR committee recommends approval of the update to the HR manual as presented for that.
We have a motion, second, see hands up to second. Any questions or discussion? Who seconded? Sam. No worries, no worries. No questions or discussion, all in favor, can raise your hand. Okay, got two hands on the screen. Any contrary minded can also raise your hand. None raised, what I see. Okay, perfect, thank you. You have your approval for your resource amendment. Anything else, Wade? Perfect, we're good. All right, technical advisory committee report. Winston Gambler, Mayor Harvey is the chair of that committee. Winston, take the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Here's your report. We had an update from Tech. The goal was supposed to be all generated relations, stuff like that. And Mike Dunn provided a discussion on what they're doing there. We asked all of the curfew, gave an update on the public drop off. Stated that the container block and the order traffic into the work. So that's why that doesn't give them the public drop off people. So I'll take for it, better speed. And then he had the tracking put to work to work time, fuel, etc. And with the implementation of our treatment system to better improve the safety and functionality of the system. Also, there will be energy savings involved through pump run time, drive capability, avoid. So that's the tech report for the last day going on. I'll move the report.
We had a motion to accept Winston's report. We had down here seconded by Alan. Any questions or discussion about the report? All in favor of accepting the motion, can you raise your hand? All right, we have two hands on the screen to accept the report as presented. From Pat. Okay, perfect. Any contrary minded, can raise your hand? No. Okay. Anything else, Winston, for TAC? Thank you. We'll move on to Finance and Audit Committee report. Once again, Winston Gamblin is the chair of that committee. So Winston, I'll turn the floor back over to you.
We had two meetings, March 30th and April 7th. The April 7th one was the operational lifespan of the landfill site has been increased, creating a large surface over which needs to be withdrawn. And audit committee, maybe that $700,000 of post-closure fund to the operating fund.
All right, we have a motion to move $700,000 from the post-closure fund to the operating account. Do we have a second there? Sam seconded it. Do we have any questions or discussion about what that means? And I will just note that that was already, that transfer was part of the budget that was passed. So this is the motion to formalize what was already in the budget. Any questions or discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Perfect. Do we have two hands up on the screen? Thank you. All contrary minded can also raise your hand. None to note. We have your motion. Back to you, Winston.
Thank you. At the previous meeting, staff was asked to provide that total capital cost for 33 walls. The purchase price was $118,740. Remodeling material was $78,770. And labor was $21,513. For a total of $219,025. The committee asked that for the breakdown of renovation cost to be included with April 2021 board package. That was also asked to provide a cost allocation for rate charge by solid waste recycling for all property. The breakdown was followed. Property taxes, $777, or $7,777. Lot and building, $677. Vacant lot, $500. Repairs and maintenance, annual cost of $150,000 at 1%, $1,500. Major repairs, $10,000 over 10 years, period, $1,000. Return on investment, $170,000 at 2%, $3,400. Annual total cost of $14,854, divided by 12 months, $138. And that's $7.43 per square foot. The $1,238 for rent that they will be paid in the bid. Then here Last meeting, discussed focus of the committee, the vacant lot owned by the business fund at 33 Wall property, which was addressed in previous discussions. The zoning law check, was checked, and deed is to be residential. Committee question the actual lot size, which will be provided by the staff. Staff prepared a copy of the life expectancy of the landfill sale cost per ton of engineering space, as well as the total capital cost of this time. Resale at a lifespan of 10.73 years, with the cost of $4.90 per ton. So that's the cost of lot increase proportionally, and state minimum staff and equipment required needed to handle the current level of staffing and equipment and handle the third rate of increasing volume of charging for 7 years to come. Testing by using contractors that needed the projected work presentation. And for the financial statement, back to the book here, the Mark was probably go over that a little bit.
All right, Jameson.
Madam Chair.
So, in summary, we're about where we use there this time of year. We have a large surplus of 650,000 in March. And that's due to Western Valley's waste coming in back early in the year.
Motion that Winston is supposed to make finance now. You know, we're getting around. Except the audit back before March.
Yeah, we do have to, and I was gonna miss that, circle back to that, but we'll just pause right here and do it. Thank you. How else pointed out to me too, so the three of us are on the same page. We're good. At the end of the financial report, from Winston Finance and Audit Committee report, not financial report, Finance and Audit Committee report, there is mention on the second page, if you want to flip over to it, that the audit process has been completed. And they're preparing a quote to be the auditors for 2021 as well, which will happen at the AGM immediately following. But Mark was there for the meetings with the auditors, and we have a motion that we have to pass to accept the audited draft audited financial statements before you do the financial report.
I'm just doing the monthly one, not the annual.
Nobody, this motion was supposed to be in the finance and audit.
Yeah.
Not the financial report,
Not the financial report.
They did, 2020 financial statements.
It's the both really did the annual meeting.
we accept them at this board meeting through motion, and then we present them at the AGM. It's a confusing thing because we haven't had an AGM for 2 years, and when it's something you only do once a year, it's easy to forget. And the executive committee every year has this discussion.
And the audit report.
To accept, so the motion is to accept the audited financial statements and the audit report. So Winston made the motion. Do we have a second? Jim threw his hand up there really quick. Okay. Are there any questions about that audit of the draft audited financial statements of this thing right here? If they pass, they will be presented at the AGM, but they have to pass here first before they can be presented. So this is your draft audit, and the audit report is in there and was circulated as well, just about the process they used, and they found nothing. Except good financial statement. So we have a motion, we have a second. Are there any questions or board to decide upon? None to know. So we have a motion to accept the audited financial statements and the audit report. And seconded, no questions or discussion. If you're all in favor, please raise your hand. We have them on screen as well. Perfect, 2 hands on screen. Any contrary mind, you can also raise your hands. We have our draft Audited financial statements and audit report accepted. Back to you, Winston. Back to you, Mark. We interrupted you, so I'll turn it back to you. Mark's gonna do the financial reports, the regular financial reports, outside of the audit.
All right, so this is the financial statements to the end of March 2021. Currently have a $650,000 surplus for those 3 months. That's because we haven't done any of our capital expenditures for the year yet. So this is the big part of the summer. And Western Valley gave us most of their waste early in the year. So pretty soon it'll start to slow down. So they lower the revenue for part of the year. In terms of the 3 different departments, solid waste has a surplus of that 650,000, it has 630,000. And local planning's got the 20,000 for surplus, and cooperative regional planning per has a deficit of that. You want me to talk about the annual financial statements here, or would be?
Yeah.
Next.
I know, we got a 30 deadline here for our bylaws. Okay, so we had a financial report from Mark. With that, we move on to the next section, which is date and time of next regular meeting per standing order. It would normally be June 24th, 2021, so that's what the motion will be, because we can't have one in May, because we're legally not allowed to have one until after everybody's sworn in. If they're all done by June 24th, we'll have a board meeting, and if not, obviously that'll have to be canceled because there'll be no more sit. So,
Madam Chair,
yes,
I just add a little bit of information to this that I got today. It's looking like when Northwest comes out of lockdown, it'll be about 5 weeks after that, that it'll be all said and done, that the results will come out for municipal elections.
okay, so we'll be waiting 5 weeks after that.
Yeah.
Hopefully it'll be June 24th. There is still time. There is still time. Any questions coming in from the public? Call us on live chat or text messages or emails or anything? Anything at all?
I've been checking and no.
Nothing?
Wait.
With that, we're looking. We're going to go right into our AGM, so don't get too comfortable. We gotta get this over with. You guys are awesome. I just gotta say, you guys are awesome. All right. There's so many follow-up on it.